WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Welcome to the second edition of Newslink. Here are the top stories. Burkina Faso government rejects Cote d'Ivoire's claims of suicide in activist Alino Faso's death.
Le gouvernement condamne fermement cette disparition.
The government firmly condemns this disappearance similar to a murder. It is an indignant at this manifest attempt to cut the fights.
Soit porté dans l'espace public.
WDL Sankle Janko wins ECOWAS Best Journalist in Radio Broadcast. Commercial drivers in Liberia protest against high traffic ticket prices and licensing issues.
Data information through vehicle registration and driver's license processing is a risk, and it poses a security threat to the citizens, car owners, and drivers.
And in sport news, Nigeria's President Tinubu confers national honors on Super Falcons' direct allocation of houses and cash reward. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast this afternoon. We'll begin in Burkina Faso, where public concern has erupted following the announcement of the death of web activist Alino Faso in Cote d'Ivoire. The Burkinabe government has rejected claims of suicide, insisting instead that the activist was murdered. The transitional government is also demanding the immediate repatriation of the activist's remains to Ouagadougou. Christopher Ticho has the details in this report.
Events unfolded rapidly following the announcement of the death of web activist Alino Faso at the Gendarmerie Academy in Abidjan. On Monday, the Burkina Faso's Minister of Foreign Affairs summoned the charge of the affairs of the Ivorian embassy in Ouagadougou for a formal meeting regarding the incident. Later that evening, government spokesperson Gilbert Wadr appeared on the 8 p.m. national television news broadcast where he firmly rejected the theory of suicide.
Le gouvernement condamne fermement cette disparition.
The government firmly condemns this disappearance similar to a murder. It is an indignant at this manifest attempt to cut the fights. Indeed, why the death would have been found on Thursday, July 24, it took 72 hours for the information to be brought into the public space.
Soit porté dans l'espace public.
Wadr condemned what he described as a lack of transparency in the handling of the case. He stated that the Burkinabe government had not been officially contacted by the Ivorian authorities, the Burkinabe embassy in Cote d'Ivoire, or even the deceased family. The government spokesperson went on to describe the situation as a shadowy handling of the case and reiterated Burkina Faso's demand for the immediate repatriation of Alino Faso's remains.
Le gouvernement exige des autorités.
The government demands that the Ivorian authorities bring our compatriot's body back to the intra-Orient for dignified and honorable burial.
Digne et honorable.
The Burkinabe government emphasized that the death of Alino Faso would not go unpunished, affirming that it is monitoring the case closely. It is worth noting that Alino Faso was arrested in January 2025, suspected of being involved in a plot to destabilize Ivorian institutions. According to a statement from the Abidjan High Court prosecutor, his body was discovered on July 24 at 7:30 a.m.
A report from WDL's Ouagadougou correspondent Martin Caban, voiced by Christopher Ticho. Meanwhile, in Cote d'Ivoire, 84 customs officers have been sentenced to 6 years in prison each for using falsified documents. The verdict was handed down last weekend by the Abidjan Plateau Court of First Instance. The case involved the use of fake diplomas during the special civil service recruitment competition in the country. Francis Boniface completes the story.
The case began in 2024 following an investigation by the Customs Administration that uncovered widespread diploma fraud among applicants to a competitive examination organized by the Ministry of Civil Service and Administrative Modernization. The investigation revealed that several candidates had submitted fake diplomas. Upon being alerted, the Director General of Customs, Dapier Alphonse, referred the matter to the court, and the public prosecutor then ordered a formal judicial investigation. In total, 87 customs officers were prosecuted in connection with the case. However, 2 of the accused died during the proceedings, resulting in the dismissal of charges against them. One defendant was acquitted after the court found he was unaware that the documents he submitted were fraudulent. The remaining 84 individuals were found guilty and handed additional penalties, including bans on voting and standing for public office. The court also ordered that the forged diplomas be confiscated and destroyed. However, the Customs Administration, recognized as the injured party in the case, was awarded symbolic damages of 1 franc. All convicted officers have been suspended from duty pending a potential appeal. If their convictions are upheld, they will serve their sentences at the Abidjan Penitentiary Center, formerly known as Maka.
Francis Boniface with that report. And at the same time, in Mali, journalist Alfousseni Togo is facing an 8-month suspended prison term and a fine of 500,000 CFA francs. The editor of Le Carnet de la Venise was sentenced on Monday by the Anti-Cybercrime Judicial Unit for undermining the credibility of the state. His charges stem from an article he published in early April in which he questioned statements made by Mali's Minister of Justice, Mamadou Kassougé. Appearing before the court, journalist Alfousseni Togo admitted to the charges in an effort to avoid returning to prison, an admission that led to the suspended sentence.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Well, it's a proud moment for us here at West Africa Democracy Radio as our own Sankuli Janko was crowned Radio Reporter of the Year at the inaugural ECOWAS Prize of Excellence Awards for Journalists. The historic ceremony took place on Friday in the Gambian capital Banjul as part of activities marking ECOWAS' 50th anniversary. The event gathered leading regional officials, government dignitaries, and some of West Africa's most outstanding journalists to celebrate excellence in media. Janko's award-winning story shed light on the 2022 floods that devastated parts of the Gambia. His report detailed the severe impact of the torrential rains, which displaced families and damaged homes in the North Bank region, Kanifing municipality, and the West Coast region.
Well, the report was on relief support provided by the Economic Committee of West African States. That's ECOWAS. I recall. And in 2022, July to be precise, the Gambia experienced, torrential rains and, it was flooding everywhere. And it caused a lot of havoc, a lot of material damage. Some families lost their entire houses, So it was really, really, really hard for the Gambia in those periods. So ECOWAS provided some assistance to some of those flood victims, particularly in provincial Gambia. And I was lucky enough to go to the ground, I saw the havoc myself, and then I went there when they relieved support as beneficiaries, to talk to them. And it was really inspirational to hear their testimonies as to how much impact the relief support provided by ECOWAS has helped their lives. Some of them were able to rebuild their houses. Some were able to provide some food provisions, and it went a long way in trying to rebuild their lives. And then I thought it was just a genuine moment, genuine, impactful, assistance from the ECOWAS community. And then I walked around that angle, and that's what emerged as the winner for the radio category.
Well, we'll be hearing more from Sankuli Janko on that award-winning report. Let's cross over to Guinea, where the prosecutor's office at the Nzere Court of First Instance spoke out on Monday regarding the alleged presence of rebels disguised as mentally ill people in the region. Judicial authorities have launched an investigation to clarify the situation. So far, 2 individuals have already been arrested and transferred to a hospital in the capital for medical examination. Abdullah Hassan has the details in this report.
In response to the persistent rumors about the alleged presence of rebels disguising themselves as mentally ill individuals in Nzere, the public prosecutor's office at the Court of First Instance has issued a statement to clarify the situation. Mamadou Hadi Jallo, Deputy Public Prosecutor at the Court of First Instance of Nzerikori addressed the matter. According to Article 8 of the Penal Code, it was reported that qualified individuals and sick people were actually people who were suspected of disturbing the public order. Following this disturbance, my party, through the forces of defense and security of my branch, called on the suspects for investigation. The Deputy Public Prosecutor confirmed that several arrests had been made with the support of defense and security forces, stating that a judicial investigation had been opened into the case. Mamadou Hadi Jallo added that a medical examination was ordered to assess the mental health of individuals concerned. To prevent any trouble to the public and the threat of public safety, the parquets near the Court of First Instance of the Nzerikori people opened an investigation and required medical expertise to determine the state of health of the suspect, of reassuring the population of the Nzerikori people. According to observers, the statement from the prosecutor's office is intended to reassure residents of Nzerikori amid growing concerns in this often sensitive and security-challenged forest region.
Abdullah sent me the details of that report found by our correspondent, Channel Ibrahim Balde in Conakry. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, and online at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Burkina Faso government rejects Côte d'Ivoire's claims of suicide in activist Alino Faso's death. WDL Sangle Janko wins ECOWAS Best Journalist in Radio Broadcast. Commercial drivers in Liberia protest against high traffic ticket prices and licensing issues. That's on the other half of the news. And in sport, Nigeria's President Tinubu confers national honor on Super Falcons, direct allocation of houses and cash reward. We do have the press review and I guess interview. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget you can listen to our live stream on wadr.org and follow our other streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Let's turn our attention to Ghana now as reactions continue to pour in following the government's recent imposition of a curfew in Baku, Nale, Rigo and surrounding communities after renewed clashes led to the killing of 3 students. International security expert Alassane Suleiman Bello has weighed in, stressing that lasting peace in the protracted Baku conflict can only be achieved if both the Mamprusi and Kusasi ethnic groups are willing to compromise. According to Bello, curfews and military deployment over the years have failed to yield sustainable peace. Addressing concerns about Ghana's potential exposure to terrorism given the conflict's proximity to Burkina Faso, which grapples with violent extremism, Bello said the operational patterns of terrorist groups in the region do not currently align with Ghana's context. However, he warned that the ongoing unrest could facilitate the illicit flow of arms, posing a serious threat to national security.
The imposition of curfew is not something new. It's been tried and tested, where government and the state impose curfew, lifts curfew. We've done this time and time again. It has yielded just temporary results, perhaps a short abeyance of the attack and the reprisal attacks. The only way peace can be sought to Baku is if both communities agree to coexist and find room for compromise. But so long as there's an entrenched position from both the warring parties or the disputing parties, it should be hard for us to have a sustainable peace. But let's be very clear, this is an internal security matter.
Conflict in Boko and its proximity to Burkina Faso, is there potential crisis where Ghana could be exposed to terrorist threats?
Not necessarily so, because was early this year, a report came about a few Ghanaians fighting in the ranks of the terrorist group. And they said that they understand the demography of Ghana. It is not in their best interest to even, try to expand their operation to Ghana, because culturally, it would be hard for them to conceal themselves and embed themselves in society. But then what we should be concerned about, the illicit flow of arms that the conflict in Burkina Faso would have on Boko crisis. Because the more the conflict prolongs itself, the more the warring faction begin to seek sophisticated weapons to, perhaps for lack of a better word, as they would say, defend themselves. But then that would also mean what? Attack each other.
Alassane Suleiman Bello is an international security expert. Elsewhere in Liberia, commercial transport drivers staged a protest in Monrovia on Monday to voice their frustration over high traffic ticket prices and the government's decision to transfer licensing authority to the Liberia Traffic Management (LTM). The protesting drivers argued that the increased ticket costs are placing a heavy financial burden on them amid the rising costs of living in the country. The action comes in the wake of concerns raised by staff at the Ministry of Transport, who warned that outsourcing key departmental responsibilities to LTM could result in the loss of over 250 jobs.
The drivers' strike brought commercial activities in the capital to a standstill, leaving many citizens, particularly those who rely on commercial transport for their daily commute, stranded. Operating under the banner of the collaborating transport unions, the protesting drivers submitted a petition signed by Prince Gibson, the group's public relations officer, calling for the cancellation of the government's outsourcing arrangement.
The concession deal with the Foreign Liberia Traffic Management (LTM) instructing us to give our biodata information through vehicle registration and driver's license processing is a risk, and it poses a security threat to the citizens, car owners, and drivers. Therefore, we recommend that this deal be totally cancelled. The issuance of fines for traffic violations is very high. We recommend that all fines for violations of the vehicle and traffic laws be paid in Liberian dollars.
In response, Representatives Sekou Kane and Fode Famole received the petition and assured the drivers that the House of Representatives would investigate the matter and act in their interest.
We are here for you. That's why we all came to work today. Come and receive this petition. We'll take it over to the leadership. The leadership will go through it. Thereafter, we'll get to you.
We've been on break, but because of some of these matters, our function has been extended. The reason why our function was extended was that some of the issues were still pending. So the extensions will cover the full investigation of some of the matters.
Meanwhile, the Federation of Driver Unions has distanced itself from the protest, stating it was not involved in the action. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, we stay with Abraham Parker in Monrovia for the newspaper review.
Hello and welcome to Press Review. We begin with the Inquirer newspaper, and the inquiry goes with these stories. The first one says, "Never again must we lose our children to hatred," President Bio declares. President Bio was speaking during the 178th Independence Day celebration of Liberia. The next story says, Liberia champions regional cooperation at summit in Addis Ababa. The last story on the inquiry, orator denounces spiritual manipulation caused on churches to liberate the people. Our next stop is the news, the nation's news since 1989. While commercial drivers protesting, yesterday was a serious scene where commercial drivers in Monrovia were seen in the street protesting against the concession deal with the Liberian government and the Liberia Traffic Management. They say the deal is not in their favor and made the hardship in the country. Our last stop is front page Africa newspaper, countering the NCC compact romance. Finance Minister Augustine Gafuan clarifies Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact still a work in progress, contradicts claims of approval. That does it for this edition of Press Review from Liberia's capital, Monrovia. Thanks so kindly for listening.
Indeed, many thanks, Abraham Parker there with a newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Now let's take you back to the report that gave our own Sankle Janko the ECOWAS Radio Reporter of the Year award. The versatile Janko's award-winning story shed light on the 2022 floods that devastated parts of the Gambia. His report detailed the severe impact of the torrential rains, which displaced families and damaged homes in the North Bank region, Kanifing municipality, and the West Coast region. At the heart of the story was the relief support provided by ECOWAS, and Janko's storytelling was praised for its compassionate tone, strong human interest focus, and a thorough examination of how regional aid made a difference in the lives of ordinary people. In this conversation, Janko sheds more light on the report.
In all sincerity, I would say the creativity behind this report is thanks to you, my editor. This is a genuine answer. Thanks to you, thanks to my colleagues down there at WADR. I mean, the beautiful thing is we are a family, and I am of the view that once you are in a work environment where everyone is willing to chip in to help, it makes your work better. But most importantly also, I am fortunate enough to come from an institution wherein the management is ever ready to provide that support. It's just a matter of you pitching a story, giving them the idea, and they'll give you the full support, the moral, the financial support. I feel I was just lucky enough at the time when I needed it. The support was there from the management's point of view. They provided the support. I went to this particular place to do the report. And then luckily for me, like you said, there are so many reports within the sub-region. You have security issues and all other things. But then perhaps I feel that for me is the main secret to this story.
Well, Sankule, for you, victory is synonymous to your name. This is not the first win for you. I mean, describe the emotions around you that particular moment on Friday, July 25th, when you were called to the stage and presented the award by the ECOWAS president, Dr. Omar Aliyu Toure, and other senior dignitaries, both from within and outside the sub-region.
Yeah, for me, Abdullah, I would have to be honest with you, it was a moment of pride. It was immeasurable. I mean, it's inexplicable, the feelings I had, the emotion I was going through, for few reasons. First of all, I mean, it was held in Banjul. The maiden edition was held in Banjul, my own capital city, where we have some family and friends around and colleagues that we've been working with. I mean, to be chosen, to be declared the winner among all those peers, I mean, it's a moment of pride for me. But again, I feel like this award is different. Of course, I was fortunate enough to have won some awards, particularly on migration, which I'm very passionate about. But this particular one for me, it's a bit different because we are living in times where journalism is very, very difficult in our region. We have our colleagues who have been forced to the war front to go and fight against their will. We have journalists that have been harassed in the sub-region, the Sahel region and West Africa as a whole. So for an institution like ECOWAS to recognize the efforts that we are making, to recognize the little efforts that we are making, I feel like that was indeed a great initiative from ECOWAS, and I think that's why this award really stands out among the other awards I was fortunate enough to have won.
And Sankule, I don't think I'll be doing justice to us radio journalists right now if I don't ask the significance of radio in modern day journalism, because you can have anybody, wherever, just report on any issue, and there is absolutely sometimes competition between what real journalism is and the new media. And so what are the opportunities that we still have as mainstream or conventional media, for example radio, that we have to continue to leverage on?
In the Gambia, for example, according to the latest reports, radio is still the most listened to. I mean, it is the most followed medium. It is the most listened to medium in the Gambia. Yes, modern media, but mind you, for example, places like the Gambia, where you have a greater or half of population living in the provinces, they still rely on radio, Abdullah. That woman in the bush, or in his, farm there, in his cassava farm, or on her, on her corn farm, whatever farm that you think of, she's there having her small radio by her side, listening to news. That man there in his garden, he has his small radio, whether, even if not the physical radio, but they have radio FMs on their phones. So, of course, in as much as we have modern media, radio is still very, very relevant. For places like the Gambia, it's still very, very relevant. And mind you, when you are driving around, going to the airport or somewhere, you have your vehicle listening to radio is a bit different from, some of this new media. And mind you also, radio, we're still consistent. We are still following the real journalism, the original form of journalism. And there are people who are, for them, quality is what matters. Forget about all this new media, what they still insist on this. They would rather have radio to listen to radio than, some of this. I cannot deny the fact that, yes, there's new media, but Abdullah, radio is still more than relevant. All what we need to continue doing like we do is quality. Once you produce quality reports, people will find ways and means to listen to your radio, verifiable information. And at WDR, that's what we do as.
Indeed, a proud moment, not just for Sankole Tanko, but for all of us here at WADR. And congratulations, Sankole, again. All right, in sport news, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria has conferred the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Niger, OON, on the Super Falcons for winning the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON tournament in Morocco. The Nigerian women's football team clinched the championship for the 10th time, setting a new record in the tournament's history. During a reception held at the Presidential Villa Abuja on Monday, President Tinubu also announced a cash reward of $100,000 in Naira equivalent for each of the 24 players. Additionally, he awarded some of $50,000 in Naira equivalent to each member of the technical team.
Your victory represents more than the sport accomplishment. It is a triumph of courage, determination, discipline, and consistency. You have inspired millions, especially young girls, who now see the proof that their dreams are valid and achievable. You inspired me too. It is a great thing for a nation to have assets that are hope of today, tomorrow, and thereafter. You ignited our hope, and we will continue to encourage you, encourage the next generation, and other generation after you. I've received this trophy on behalf of all Nigerians, and I say to you, thank you for the dedication, thank you for your passion, and thank you for reminding us of the strength of the Nigerian spirit. Crucial time, crucial victory.
Recall that the Super Falcons defeated the host nation Morocco 3-2 at the Rabat Stadium during a tense face-off over the weekend in the final of the 2024 AFCON Games. In other sports, at the end of the first round of the 2025 Women's Afro-Basket in Abidjan, the tournament's top contenders have lived up to expectations, each finishing top of their respective groups. Host nation Cote d'Ivoire impressed again, defeating Angola 82-74 on Monday to secure top spot in Group A and a direct ticket to the quarterfinals. Mali was also dominant, crushing Cameroon 75-49 to take first place in Group B. In Group C, Uganda pulled off a surprise, edging Senegal 73-70 in overtime and finishing with 2 wins from 2. Uganda tops the group, while Senegal in second place must now play in the round of 16. Nigeria confirmed its power in Group D, beating Mozambique 60-55 to claim the group lead and secure a spot in the quarterfinals. The teams directly qualified for the quarterfinals are Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Uganda, and Nigeria. And that's it on this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Sheikh Njai for the technical support. Let's connect on our social media platforms, X, Instagram, at WDR English. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 10.